From South Bend, Indiana, welcome to 3Degrees Discussions. I'm your host, Mike Vasquez. This is a podcast devoted to the stories behind the innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders in the 3D printing industry.
An aerospace tooling part to welding up a handrail in the same day. Because with us having welding capabilities, everyone comes asking for handrails, and we do a lot of staircases and whatever. So it's not all fun, it's not all glamorous, but it pays the bills.
That's Killian Erickson. Killian is the COO of Bifrost Manufacturing, an additive and advanced manufacturing company based in North Dakota. With over a decade of hands-on experience across additive manufacturing, aerospace, CNC machining, custom product design, and tooling, as well as process development, Killian has built Bifrost into a full-service advanced manufacturing partner serving industries from industrial and UAV to defense. Before we get started, head over to www.3degreescompany.com and subscribe to the podcast, where you can listen to the show anywhere you download your podcast, including Spotify, Apple, Amazon, or Stitcher. If you want, share this with a friend or someone you know that might enjoy it. Also, if you or your company are looking for materials, qualification, or general additive manufacturing support, reach out to the team through our website or via email at info@3degreescompany.com. All right, Killian, thank you so much for joining the show. Excited for the episode. So I like to kind of begin with everybody really back at the basics. So where were you born? Where'd you grow up? And do you remember the first time you saw a 3D printer?
Yeah. Glad to be here. I was born in Minnesota, so I grew up in a small town kind of between Fargo and Grand Forks, North Dakota, right on the border of the two states. But I first kind of became aware of 3D printing around the time that Ender 3s were really getting around. My first printer was an Ender 5, so getting in with the hobbyist side there. And then my first kind of step into professional 3D printing was Form Labs. I got a Form 3 when those first came out, and just grown since then.
Awesome. Were you inclined to kind of building stuff, taking things apart?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was a kid, I actually started out, I was probably 14. I started building like custom guitars and got into blacksmithing, and just always been building stuff.
Yeah. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do?
It shifted here and there. I wanted to kind of go with the guitar thing for a while. I worked doing a professional guitar repair on the side. But I got into manufacturing, started in a metal fab shop right after high school, and just kind of realized that I like making things. So it all kind of revolved around that, and just went with it.
I'm always curious, how did you find the metal fab shop? Like, did you know somebody? Did you know you kind of wanted to do that sort of stuff?
Yeah, no, I had a family member that works there, and they were like, hey, we need people to just work in the shop. And interviewed, and it was pretty much just bottom of the barrel starting in manufacturing, but I worked my way up pretty quick and learned a lot.
What were you doing those first few months?
I did assembly, just mechanical assembly. It was a company that makes scaffolding and drywall lifts and like just construction equipment. But I moved up into more project engineering work pretty quick.
And when did the intersection of 3D printing in your career start?
I think it was probably like 2017. I can't remember when the Form 3 came out. Somewhere around there, I think. But got it into that. I had my Ender 5 at home for a little while, and I was making a lot of like industrial tooling, a lot of fixturing and stuff. So for
the same company that you had started with as well?
Yep. Yeah. So I was doing it as like custom manufacturing. So my clients were other manufacturers, and I was making tooling for them.
Okay. So like kind of your own business then? Like
a little bit here and there.
Awesome.
Yeah. Form 3 was a good introduction to that. Their tough resins were really good for like work holding and things like that. So it was a good introduction. But kind of started in that tooling space, and that's where we find ourselves here, a decade later.
Yeah. And what was talk about kind of Bifrost? What was the like early days of that like?
Yeah, so a little bit of a backstory on Bifrost. We When I left that first metal fab job, I'd been there for about 8 years. I left and went to work for an aerospace company doing tooling engineering for a couple of years. And all my former clients were, calling me up saying, "Hey, like, there's no one in the area doing what you were doing." So eventually, it was enough of a demand that we started at Bifrost, myself and a couple others. And early days, we got in some bamboos and we got in some enders and we got just like a few small things. Then bumped up to getting the Form 3BL and then got a Fuse one and got into some SLS stuff. And really stuck with that tooling. Stuck with a lot of custom, just whatever, a lot of industrial maintenance, rapid prototyping, and yeah, ramped up pretty quick. So we started June 1st of 23, and then had an average new hire every 4 weeks for about that first year and a half. So now we had two facilities. We consolidated into one larger facility this summer, but we've grown pretty quick and got into some defense and aerospace work and gotten into some medical stuff, and now we're just doing everything. Whatever people can't find elsewhere is kind of our niche.
And talk about like what's more the nitty gritty when kind of building the company, right? Like as a small business, kind of starting from the ground up. Like every piece of equipment you buy is an investment. How are you thinking about ROI? How are you thinking about when you need to hire somebody? What is your calculus when you kind of get into that growth stage?
Yeah, so we're a little non-traditional. So my two business partners own another company that builds out data centers for crypto mining. So initially, they brought the funding for a lot of that equipment, but then as we grew, we tend to go towards what I call high-end hobbyist tools. So on the CNC side, we got like Tormach and Langmuir, and like things that cost five figures, but they're not breaking the bank and they're not production machines. So they covered the funding for that first bit. But then as we grew into larger and larger stuff, we worked more on a contract basis where if one client says, "Hey, I need this thing," we're like, "Okay, cool. How many of those do you need, or how many similar things do you need?" And then we try to build in new equipment into that. We don't do a lot of buying a tool and then trying to find capacity for it. Sure. We tend to go wherever our clients need, which it would be nice to have some other tools here and there, but we figure it out. We make it work.
And what's that conversation like? Do most of the customers that you're working with, I guess maybe I'll rephrase it. How has your customers, your clientele, or whoever you're working with, what's their level of knowledge on additive or kind of the capabilities evolved, or like what are you like? Are you bringing the kind of that expertise as well to them? Yeah. Like, are you really kind of problem solving? It's like, okay, hey, we know this will fit what you're trying to do. Where's kind of your sweet spot on that front?
Yeah, I think we run the full kind of spread there. We work with a lot of egg related businesses. So up here in North Dakota, there's a lot of there's sugar beet processing is a big one. There's a huge flour mill near us. And then on the other side, you've got the aerospace and defense companies. There's an Air Force base 15 minutes from our office. So we kind of work across that. We have a lot of clients where they'll come to us and they're like, "Hey, we want this thing machined and it's really complex, would be multiple setups." We're like, "Okay, cool. Can it be 3D printed out of nylon? Can we just print it out of some powder? If it's metal, can we run it on our DMLS machine?" So we do provide a lot of that. We do end up doing a lot of consulting for DFAM specifically. There's no one else really in our area doing additive outside of like the hobbyist machines, the bamboos and the enders. So.
Sure. And so you kind of explained a little bit of the industry there. So what you and mentioned kind of tooling, but what does that maybe go a level deeper on kind of example types of parts that you see commonly as you don't have to go into specifics, obviously, but like, is it, Yeah, maybe kind of size, scope. What are people trying to do, or where do you see kind of a common denominator of most places where people would consider kind of alternative options?
Yeah. So again, kind of runs a spread. Like I mentioned, we do
Hmm.
stuff that people can't really find elsewhere. There's a lot of machine shops within a couple hours of us. There are a lot of machine shops that specialize in like weld fixtures, things like that.
Yep.
So where we tend to see a lot of tooling is replacement parts for tools that somebody made back in the 70s, and they have no clue where to get it. They can't find it. A lot of custom clamping. We got
Mm.
get a lot of like material holding for composites. So outside of the aerospace stuff here, there's a large client that we can actually talk about publicly. We work with GE Vernova. So it's LM Wind Power. They make wind turbine blades. They're one of our largest clients, and it's all fiberglass. So they're holding these big sheets of fiberglass in these molds, and we've had a lot of jobs that are related to that and how they keep that material in place, how they align it. A lot of like layout templates for that kind of thing, and a lot of like quality control tooling. So go no go gauges that aren't your standard like pin gauges, getting into
Yeah.
more complex things. And then on the other side, we get a lot of oil and gas weld fixtures, machining fixtures, stuff like that, and then some custom automation here and there. But yeah, a bit of everything. It's
Uh-huh.
kind of a running theme.
That's awesome. And so, walk me through your typical day then.
Um, it's different every day. So, well, for me as the business owner, I do everything from bookkeeping to legal documents to contracts to onboarding. A lot of the larger clients have online systems that I spent a lot of time in recently. So,
Uh-huh.
answering the same questions a million different
Yeah.
ways. But everything from drawing a single part and printing it to larger assemblies to getting into some FEA, getting into more analysis side of things. To yesterday, I was doing hands-on. I was doing some TIG welding. So yeah, we're all over. A lot of my guys are a little more focused. We have some that handle more design, more printing, more machining, whatever. But yeah, my day to day is different 365 days of the year. So it's kind of nice. I like it.
And how do you find some of the people that are working with you? Is that a challenge? And kind of your, I know it sounds like there's manufacturing, but I mean, maybe some of the advanced
Yeah.
manufacturing or stuff that you're working on, are you ended up training people, or are you kind of bringing in people that already know a little bit about technologies?
It's a bit of both. So we've had some ups and downs. There's a lot of traditional manufacturing in the area. So a big one we've run into is welding. So we get
Hmm.
occasionally we'll have welders come through that's all they want to do, which is cool. Got no problem with that. But we're very diverse here, so there's not enough welding for a welder to just do that full time. So
Sure.
those guys tend to come in, it's fun for a few months, then they get bored because they want to just go back to welding. We've had some engineering students come in, so that we've actually been really lucky with a couple of them who just have that drive to learn and do as many things as they can. There's been a few guys that I've kind of brought with me through my career. So through my past jobs, I've got a couple that have followed me, and kind of just I say I'm dragging them up with me because yeah, it's every job I've done has been hey, these guys are really good. They come in and then they really set an example of like here's good workmanship. Here's a drive to just do what needs to be done. And then yeah, kind of my main guy here. He was a 5-axis machinist at Cirrus Aircraft, where I worked doing tooling engineering. So he's got that background, and then is a hobbyist, kind of jack of all trades. Gotten into a little contracting here and there. Really big into auto stuff. So yeah, that tends to be our demographic, is that jack of all trades, just someone with a drive to learn and grow and not be doing the same thing every day.
Yeah. And I imagine that fits a lot of what your customers are asking you to do, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like a handful of parts, or it's not millions of a single component, right? Where you kind of
Yeah.
optimize. It's more, okay, how do you solve this problem, or what's this engineering challenge that I can solve in a different way on a different
Yeah.
basis?
Yeah. We're usually in the single digits
Okay.
for parts. So it's like I said, you could go from an aerospace tooling part to welding up a handrail in the same day. Because with us having welding capabilities, everyone comes asking for handrails, and we do a lot of staircases and
Okay.
whatever. So it's not all fun, it's not all glamorous, but it pays the bills.
Yeah. And talk about some of the different technologies that you have. So you've kind of mentioned the MLS. You mentioned some of the powder stuff. Like what? Maybe walk us through some of your capabilities or what you're doing on the additive side.
Yeah, so kind of top down, the ones that we've focused on the most have been powders. So we have SAF, so the Stratasys H350. So that's kind of our key machine right now, because realistically that solves most problems. Gets around
Running
of the concerns.
nylon 12, nylon
Yep.
11.
Yeah, nylon 12, and uh, we have the Formlabs fuse, so the SLS machine, and that one we kind of swap materials here and there. So we run a lot of TPU in that one right now, but we can run nylon 11, whatever else there. And then on the metal side, we've got an exact metal XM200G. So it's DMLS. We do a lot of stainless and tool steel in there. There's been a little demand for Inconel and titanium, some stuff like that. We have a machine that's set up to do reactive metals, so we can get into titanium and aluminum and all that, but is not too common in this area.
Sure.
Usually because it prices itself out.
Yeah.
But on the resin side, we've got Formlabs 3BL, just one of those running, and then we have a couple, like Chinese Elegoo and whatever else machines. The FDM side, we've got a Fortis 450, so we can do all 10 and ASA, and get into the more industrial stuff and work on a machine that is heavily vetted at this point. Everyone trusts the Fortis line. And then we've got a few others. So we've got a cubic meter kind of cobbled together large format printer that we run for a lot of larger stuff. So we do a lot of furniture and a lot of like custom walkways, things like that. And then we've got a whole fleet of all the smaller machines like the bamboos and things like that.
Awesome. And as you've kind of grown the portfolio, what where do you continue to see there's opportunities and the types of questions that people are asking? Are there like gaps either the technology can't solve yet, or things that you're looking to kind of grow and expand the capabilities of the team or the machine fleet that you have?
Yeah. I think the biggest hurdle is aesthetics. Everyone wants a part that looks injection molded. So SAF is the closest we get,
and things like that.
Yeah, they don't want to see. Yeah, they don't want it gray. They don't want to see layer lines. But outside of that, outside of the aesthetics, I think we run into kind of just an education aspect. There's a lot of engineers that we work with who knew 3D printing when they were in college 10 years ago, and they're like, oh well, that's not strong enough, we can't do that, and it takes some convincing. That's kind of the biggest hurdle there. I think with the metals, there's becoming kind of a from what I see, more of a revolution in manufacturing. Everything from the powder bed fusion side to DED, and like what Meltio's doing with putting a print head in a Haas mill. Like there's a lot of cool stuff happening on metals that is leading towards more trust in the process, and then just getting the general public to kind of see the difference between industrial printing and what you might see at a like farmer's market now with all the the toys in the silk PLA, and that we can run, that full range. So we can do, the toys, and we can do fun stuff. We do a lot of cosplay stuff, a lot of custom helmets, things like that. But yeah, that education aspect is probably the biggest hurdle, just getting people to accept that it's not what it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, we see the same thing. And has the have any of the tariffs or any of the change in kind of manufacturing policy impacted kind of how the business is continued to engage and grown?
Yeah, we've had a few jobs that we've lost because of tariffs, costs going up. So mostly on the metal side, a lot of the sheet metal in the U.S. comes from Canada, so that affected us for a little while.
Yeah. You guys are right up there.
Yeah, only a couple hours away. A lot of the like custom extrusions and things like that come from China. It's really hard to get electrical components. There are some components that just aren't made in the U.S. So that it's been more of a negative for us. There have been a couple clients that have used it as a reason to start sourcing in the U.S. and the whole reshoring side of that. But for us, it hasn't really been a positive. We've seen more loss than gain. But I've seen others that really got a lot of success out of it. So yeah, it varies from shop to shop.
Cool. So just a couple more questions, kind of more fun ones. I mean, as you think about back on kind of your career and kind of where you started, where you are now, what advice would you give someone that's kind of thinking they like to work with their hands, they like to do kind of manufacturing type of stuff, they're just leaving high school or kind of earlier in their career? Any advice, having worked in a shop, run a business, kind of run all these different machines, that you would kind of like to pass along?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice is just try it. Don't be afraid to fail. Like you're going to fail, and you'll learn something. You'll come out the other side more confident. From the engineering side, just more data. If you don't try it and you don't figure out what goes wrong and how to fix it, then it's a missed opportunity to learn something. And then just beyond that, just make something. Just whether it's 3D printing, whether it's drawing with carving wood, like there's a million different things you can do. If you like making things, just start. That's the hardest part. Once you get going, it's easy. But yeah, just getting that motivation to start something is where I see a lot of people just struggle, and I like to try to get them past that.
Awesome. And so last question, more of another fun one. Do you have a book, podcast, anything that kind of gave you motivation or that you'd like to share with the audience? At the end of each year, we do kind of a 3Degrees book list of recommendations from the guests. So
yeah,
do you have anything to add to that?
Recently, we've kind of been going on the lean kicks. So 2 Second Lean is a good one. Okay. And then on the podcast side, Lean Built is a good one.
Okay.
But outside of that, I haven't read too many books recently. Yeah, not a lot of time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining the episode today, and wish you continued luck. And as the business continues to grow, and we'll kind of put all the info if people want to reach out and kind of contact you for some of your capabilities and in the notes and in the description of the podcast.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it.